is the man in the middle here, if we can consider them human. But we have here in the studio with us Mr. Festus Okoye, who is the National Commissioner of Voter Education. You're welcome, Voter Education Committee, your Chairman Information and Voter Education Committee of INEC. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you so much.
Well, you have, well, not you personally, but INEC did promise to visit the states. They set up an investigative panel to visit Bauchi and to visit River State. And you have finally released a report, which you have published. Can you give us highlights? Give the public, I mean, for the benefit, I have a copy of the report here, but for the benefit of those who are going to be listening and cannot read this report or will not be able to get access to it, can you give us highlights from the report? Well,
in relation to Bauchi State, the issues were two. One, there was a disruption of the collation process in Tafawa Balewa local government of Bauchi State. And then there were some few issues relating to Ningi, the collation of results in Ningi local government of Bauchi State. Now, in relation to the collation of results in Tafawa Balewa, the committee found out that before the disruption of the process, that 7 of the registration results for the 7 of the registration areas had already been collated out of 11, remaining 4. And for State Assembly, 6 had already been collated out of 11. Now, what the committee did was to see whether there are duplicate resources in relation to the 7 that had already been collated. And we found out that there were duplicate resources. So we matched the duplicate resources as against the polling unit results to confirm that the duplicate resources are genuine. Now, for the 4 that had not been collated, we found out that the original resources exist. And that was exactly the issue. So there was no problem in relation to the polling unit results. There was no problem in relation to the registration area results. The issue started at the local government collation. It was at the local government collation that there was some disruption. And our guidelines and regulations provides that when you have such a situation, what you do is that the collation officer should and must inform the resident electoral commissioner of the state of the situation and then request for replacement result sheet from the resident electoral commissioner, and then the process will continue. But because of the charged atmosphere, because of the challenges the collation officer was having, rather than request for that replacement result sheet, the collation officer now went and collected the local government results on replacement result sheets for registration area. So it was just a process issue. So the committee has established that everything we need to complete the collation process in Bauchi State exists. The second issue relates to...
so there'll be no reruns in those areas?
No, there's no issue of rerun because the results are already there. Now, for Ningi local government, the issue was that we had a situation where in 4 polling units, the registration area collation officer recorded that the total number of council votes was 25,330. And we just couldn't understand the situation. So what we did was that we went and looked at from EC 40G and found out that the total number of council votes was 2,533. So that reduced the number. So these were the only 2 issues in relation to Bauchi State. And the commission has taken a decision that the collation of results in Bauchi will continue on Tuesday, that is tomorrow, and be concluded. And then it is now left for the returning officer for the governorship election to make a determination after collecting the results and then also looking at the Ningi local government issue to make a determination on whether there should be supplementary elections or whether he can, based on what he has, make an outright declaration and a return. So that's it for Bauchi.
There were some local governments now, some areas where there was overvoting recorded according to the paper that we saw, is the records of INEC. They were overvoting in certain areas in Tafawa Balewa. Now, some parties are saying that 0 votes should be recorded in those areas. Is INEC going to stick by the guideline it has set out
earlier. No. There's issue related. Overvoting is completely different from the deliberate refusal to use the smart card reader. The issue of overvoting is regulated by the Electoral Act. And what the Electoral Act says is that in any place where there is overvoting, the votes of that particular place becomes null and void, and that a new vote should be taken. That's regulated by the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act did not say that where there is overvoting, you record 0 votes. No. It is where communities or certain individuals in a polling unit refuse to use the smart card reader, then we record 0 vote for that particular polling unit. So
are you saying in the places where overvoting recorded?
Yes.
Occurred rather.
Yes.
That INEC is going to do reruns in those areas?
That is what the law says.
Isn't that like a reward for the people who, because with the new system that INEC has put out, the use of card readers, how is it still possible that overvoting is still being recorded?
That is the issue. That's the issue. It is people in a particular polling unit and the presiding officer in a particular polling unit that is in a position to explain how overvoting occurred in relation to some of these issues.
Your investigation did not get there?
We will investigate some of these issues after the elections, because now we have bigger issues and bigger things to focus on and bigger challenges.
What are the bigger challenges?
The bigger challenges is that we have supplementary elections in 6 states, and we have a pending election a pending issue in Rivers. And then we also engage in multiple litigations from political parties and other interested parties.
Tell us about the situation in Rivers. What did you come up with?
Well, we had a fact-finding mission to Rivers.
Elections were suspended.
We suspended elections in Rivers.
Yes.
Now, the fact-finding mission went to Rivers and found out that, for instance, that state constituency elections were held, and that results had only been declared in 20 of the state assembly constituencies. We also found out that we have at least 17 collected results intact in Rivers State, and that some of the other areas we had polling unit results. So what the commission has decided is, one, that we are going to have a stakeholders meeting at the highest level, especially with the leadership of the security agencies, for us to understand each other and make sure that when we are going back to Rivers, that we are going back to Rivers with security assured and with...
It was not supposed to be in the first place. Did you find out if the military was there to rig the elections?
No. The fact-finding mission that went to Rivers established the fact that the military intervened in a few places in Rivers. We saw them in the INEC office, and they also agreed that they were at some collation centers and some other places on election day. We did not establish the fact, or we did not go out to establish the fact of who rigged elections or who did not rig elections. What we want to ensure is that we complete the collation process in Rivers. There are procedures and processes of checking results. Each polling unit, each presiding officer has the mandate. In fact, each polling unit is sovereign in terms of the sovereignty of the polling unit, and each presiding officer makes a determination of what happens at the polling unit. If there's an overvoting, it is the presiding officer that records that there has been overvoting. If the card reader was not used, it is the presiding officer that makes that particular determination before the scores of the candidate or the results from the polling unit goes to the registration area. But we made a determination that the army got involved in the electoral process, but whether their involvement in the electoral process was to rig the elections, I'm not in a position to make a determination on that.
Just before I let you go on this one, now you said that there are going to be stakeholders, you have a stakeholders meeting. I'm just wondering, is the APC going to be in that meeting, considering that they are not on the ballot?
Well, the stakeholders meeting we are going to hold will involve all the registered political parties in Nigeria. The APC as a political party is a stakeholder in the electoral process, and all the other political parties are stakeholders in the electoral process. We're also going to invite religious leaders. We are going to invite representatives of the Bar Association, the Nigerian Union of Journalists, and the critical stakeholders in the electoral process. So our invitation will extend to the registered political parties and not necessarily political parties who are on the ballot, because the APC as a political party is a stakeholder, and when we are going to hold a stakeholders meeting, we will invite all the registered political parties. So they will be there, and we are going to extend invitation to them.
Mr. Okoye, let me take you up on something a little different from what we have. According to the headlines this morning, we understand that out of the 91 political parties that vied for elective positions in this election, only 12 of them won any elective positions. What's going to happen to those who didn't win?
Well, after the elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission will sit down as a commission and look at the situation. You recall that there was the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has made it very clear that for you to remain as a political party and also retain your registration status as a political party, you must win a certain number of seats, either at a local government level or at a state assembly level or senatorial or governorship and so on and so forth. So after the elections, we will sit down and make an analysis of what has happened in this particular election and also look at who has won what and who has not won anything. But you recall that there is, the results of elections in 6 states and Rivers has not been declared. So there's a possibility that some of the political parties you are saying have not won anything now may likely win something from these elections. And in some of the state constituencies also, the results have not been declared. So it is too early in the day to make conclusive statements on who has won what and who has not won anything until all the results are in and until all the election petitions have been determined and disposed of, before you can now have a comprehensive idea of the state of the political parties in terms of their winning margin and also in terms of their performance. So it's after all these things are put in the basket that we can now make a conclusive determination on which political party must remain as a political party and which political party will be deregistered in accordance with the Fourth Amendment to the Fourth Alteration to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Well, just, since you're reacting to headlines, perhaps you should also react to this one on the front page of this day, saying, we didn't request for military deployment in collation centers. That's been attributed to INEC.
Yes.
That is correct?
No, I told you that we have what we call Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. And in this Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, we have all the security agencies represented, including the Army, including the Navy, and including the other arms of the security agencies. Now, Section 29, subsection 3 of the Electoral Act gives the Commission the power to request for assistance from certain arms of the security agencies in terms of the transportation and distribution of election materials in places that are more or less not...
I'm answering the question a little more straightforward.
I'm coming.
It's important that you answer it very straightforwardly.
I'm going to answer your question in a very straightforward manner.
Yeah.
We have the capacity covered by the law to request for military assistance in certain situations, covered by Section 29, subsection 3 of the Electoral Act. But in terms of requesting that the military should go to the collation centers, we never, as a commission, made that particular request. It is the police, as the lead agency. Just a minute.
I will let you finish your thoughts when we come back from this break.
Okay.
Please stay with us. So INEC has said very clearly that they did not request the presence of the military at the collation centers. They requested them for other things like logistics. Mr. Festus Okoye is still here. You also presented certificates of return to to senators-elect and members of the House of Representatives-elect, so to speak.
Yes.
But you did not present to Governor Rochas Okorocha of Imo State, who had participated in the polls and was declared winner.
Yes.
Can you tell us why?
Well, we've made it very clear on why we didn't present any certificate of return to him. If you look at our website, we said that the declaration and return was made under duress, and that we are not going to give any certificate to any person or any individual that procured the declaration or a return under duress.
You've done an investigation and it's been confirmed that that was what happened?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us, I mean, some people, as we round off the elections, what can we expect for the supplementary elections come Saturday?
We want to conduct a supplementary election that the Nigerian people will be proud of. We want to also conduct a supplementary election that meets the expectations of all the critical stakeholders in the electoral process. What we demand is that the political parties should rein in their members and also make sure that they act in accordance with laid down rules and procedures for the conduct of elections. We also expect a high-level cooperation from the different security agencies that will be involved in election security, so that at the end of the day, people will know that a good election has been conducted, and we are ready for this particular election, and we expect that things will go well.
Okay, well, we do hope that things do go well. I mean, a lot definitely lies on your shoulders. But we have to thank you for coming on Sunrise Daily. Mr. Festus Okoye is a National Commissioner, Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee of INEC. And that's been the program from here in Abuja. Thank you so much for watching this morning. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
And from Lagos, I'm Gimba Umar.
And I'm Ayo Makine, asking you to have a great day.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on this program are those of the maker and do not reflect the views, opinions, and endorsement of Channels Television.